Welcome to Assembly Calendar. I'm Mike Friesen. With us for our program today, Assemblyman Dan Burling. Dan Burling represents the 147th Assembly District in New York State. That's an Assembly District that includes the counties of Allegheny, Livingston, Wyoming, and Genesee. And we want to thank you folks all across that region for joining us for our program today. Dan Burling, nice to see you.
Nice to be here. Nice to be here. Great weather finally here in New York State.
Isn't it glorious? You know,
Beautiful.
this is... It's almost like a good thing to have winter to remind you about how wonderful spring is.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But you know what, in all honesty, look at the terrible tornadoes that happen all across the mid part of the country. Look at the flooding that's going on now in Tennessee in those areas. You know, we have the occasional small flood, occasional tornado, but we are spared that devastation that a lot of parts of the country have around here. So if that's what winter does for us, okay, winter's okay.
For me, it's all about seeing that beautiful green grass come up and the buds on the trees.
Oh, but you like the dandelions too.
Well, yeah. Okay, that's another story altogether. We are here to let you folks know what's going on at the state capitol, the discussions that are taking place here. We're going to be talking about this 2011 legislative session, what's left to do now that the budget work is all done. We're going to be looking at some legislative initiatives that have come up for discussion on the Assembly floor. You know, we're going to start with those. We're going to have a little bit of water cooler conversation here, the stuff that everybody's talking about, not just here in Albany, but I'm sure back in the 147th District. And that's the big news this past week, the death of Osama bin Laden. I mean, anybody who's a New Yorker, I think, has a real connection to that story.
Absolutely. I mean, this guy was a mass murderer. I mean, he masterminded the largest attack ever on the soil, on American soil. 3,000 innocent lives, men, women, and children, indiscriminately killed by this guy. The world is a better place with him gone. I congratulate our military, the Navy SEALs. I was a Marine. I would like to see a Marine unit go in, but Marines are part of the Navy, but the Navy SEALs are a great group, well-trained, well-disciplined. They went in and did a wonderful job, and they suffered no casualties. And my hat's off to them. The world's a better place with this terrible criminal gone, and now we've got to be vigilant though, because the head of the snake has been cut off, but it's still out there wiggling. But it sends a message to those out there that would do harm to this country. We'll hunt you down. We don't forget. We'll find you and we'll kill you.
People are fascinated, and I'm sure it's no different for you to learn the details of the military operation and the amount of preparation. I mean, they constructed a similar compound and practiced and practiced. They were ready, and that's probably one of the big reasons why they came out of there with no casualties.
Right. They caught the guy in his PJs. You know, it was a great mission, and like I say, it sends a message out there. And you got to question, how complicit was Pakistan in this? Can you imagine a mass murderer living in a huge compound right outside of West Point?
Right.
That was
right. That's pretty much the analogy you could make here.
Right.
You're right across from their major center of operations.
He had to feel safe there.
It's an interesting thing. These are the kind of conversations that are taking place, and like I said, New York has got a real special, I think, look at this situation based on what happened here about 10 years ago. And another thing is, I think this event has kind of worked to sort of bring everybody together. Then again, feeling some of those same emotions, a sense of community. I think that we felt back on that day, September 11, 2001.
Never forget that day.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the day John Kennedy was shot. Yeah. There's some things that just stick in your memory and never go away.
Assemblyman Burling sponsored a resolution that passed in the Assembly not too long ago. Let's take a look at that resolution. We're going to have him explain it.
Resolution number 390, Mr. Burling, legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim May 1st, 2011 as Silver Star Banner Day in the state of New York.
On the resolution, Mr. Burling.
Yes, on the resolution, Mr. Chairman, my colleagues, Silver Star Banner Day. Silver Star Families of America is dedicated to supporting and assisting wounded, ill, injured, and dying active duty and veterans and their families of all branches of the service of all wars. Their goal is to recognize the blood sacrifice of wounded and those injuries and illnesses originating in a war zone, and remember their efforts by honoring them with a Silver Star banner. Qualifications include the Purple Heart, recipients, victims of friendly fire, those suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, Agent Orange effects, and Gulf War syndrome. May 1st, Silver Star Banner Day is recognized across our nation as a day to honor these heroes. Thank you very much.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted.
You were the former ranker on the Assembly's Veterans Committee.
Yeah, long time ago. I was.
Vietnam
I'm still on the Veterans Committee.
Vietnam veteran yourself.
Marine Corps Vietnam veteran. You notice the tie that I have on today with the Eagle Globe and Anchor.
There you go. So this sort of thing is important to you.
It's very important to me, and you know the life that we are able to enjoy today was paid for by the blood of veterans and all wars going way back to the Revolutionary War, and we still have young people, and the youngest and the brightest and the best are those that serve and those that die, unfortunately. This country was built and is prospered on the blood of young people and young veterans. So just as those that are serving in Iraq and Afghanistan now, and those young soldiers that went in and took out bin Laden, we owe our freedom and our quality of life to those who have served, and I'm proud to have been one of them.
You also had the opportunity to have a really nice moment in the Assembly chamber where you got to introduce a group of seniors who came to visit from back in the district. They made the trip to Albany, check things out here, probably check up on you, make sure you were on the straight and narrow.
You know, I asked them, I says, what qualifies you to be a senior citizen? What is the age to be a senior citizen? And they said, 60 years old. And I said, well, I guess I'm a senior citizen also. I'm 64. I know I look a lot younger than that.
Oh,
but
I'm stunned to hear you say it's 60. What? No. Let's take a look at the introduction made on the floor of the Assembly by Dan Burling.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to interrupt the proceedings for an introduction. Behind me, I have a group of very distinguished senior citizens, and they are from Wyoming, Erie, Allegheny, Cattaraugus County, and they are led by Margaret Morgan. If you would please stand. Margaret, if you would raise your hand for us so we can see who you are. Margaret was a former Senior Citizen of the Year of all of New York State. So I wish that you would give them your most heartiest welcome. These group of senior citizens, they've had a tour of the Capitol. They're going to go over to the Senate. But I told them this, Mr. Speaker, was the people's house. This is the people's house. I said, this is the most important house that we have here in Albany. The Senate might debate that, but we feel that way. So thank you very much for coming, and if you would give them your hearty introduction. Thank you.
It's really nice to have such a distinguished group of individuals. We have somebody who has been recognized by the state of New York for excellence. So, and as Mr. Burling indicated, you are in the people's house, but more important, you're in your house. So, you know how we like to feel at home when we're in each other's homes. Please feel very comfortable for being here. On behalf of Mr. Burling, on behalf of Mr. Giglio, the Speaker, and all my colleagues, thank you for being with us here today. Please enjoy the privileges of the floor. Thank you for being here.
A fine-looking group indeed.
they were a fun group.
We've said it a lot of times on this program. You ever get the chance, come to Albany, check out the Capitol building, take the tour. It's an incredible building. Built by craftsmen, you just don't see the likes of these craftsmen. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I told them that when they went over to the Senate, it's very ornate, and with gold leaf and everything.
Don't touch anything, folks.
No, and I said that you'll see the senators walk by, and there'll be little cherubs throwing flower petals out in front of them as they walk along. They go, really?
Unbelievable. We have one more piece of business to show you folks today. This is a debate. This is a debate I've heard quite a few times over the years, I'm going to say. This is a bill that comes up every so often that has to do with sunscreen. And what about sunscreen? Why does a bill about sunscreen come up every couple of years? It's a bill that calls for expiration dates on sunscreen. Mm-hmm. You know a little bit of something about this because of your profession as a pharmacist.
Well, of course, what's interesting is the water that you buy in the store, folks, has an expiration date on it. Okay, but sunscreen has no expiration date, and it deteriorates just like any other drug.
Chemicals that break down.
It's pyramidbenzoic acid. It's a long term, but what it does is it blocks the harmful rays of the sun from your skin and protects the skin. Now, these harmful rays can cause changes in the cells of the skin, which can lead to skin cancer. Young people and babies are most susceptible. Their skin is more susceptible to sun burning than in adults. They haven't been on this earth, as long, and they're much more tender. Now, let's say a mother, to save money, saves the sunscreen from the year before, or
buy some in bulk,
Right, in bulk, and it's deteriorated, and it's 30% of its strength or something. You put this on, and your child could get severely burned. So I just don't understand why we can't pass this. Obviously, there's some pushback from the industry. You would think that they want people to throw it out and buy new. But Harvey Wiesenberg is the sponsor of this bill. He's a long-standing member here. He's a lifeguard at Jones Beach on Long Island, and
one of the most tan people I know.
Yeah, I know. But he always asks me to say a few words on this.
And let's show you those few words right now from Dan Burling on the floor of the State Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, on the bill, I also support this for all the reasons that my colleague Harvey Wiesenberg presented, and the good dentist, Dr. Miller. But also, I'd like to bring forward something in a scenario that I think is very important, and that's a young child or a young baby. Let's say children's skin is very, very sensitive. It doesn't have the natural blocking agents that we get as we get a little older and rougher. And a young mother may, trying to save money, use a product that's outdated, and this could lead to a very dangerous situation for some of our most vulnerable population, our young children. So I see nothing wrong with putting an expiration date on something. Pharmaceutical companies have to put it on all their drugs, and as Harvey said, it's on water for whatever reason I really don't know. But again, I support Harvey. I'm sure this will pass unanimously again. Let's see if we can get it passed in the Senate and have it signed by the governor into law in the state. Thank you very much.
As you said, this is a bill that is put forward by a guy who is out in the sun a lot.
Yeah.
And he just wants to, like you said, I don't really know what the problem would be. It seems like it's a bill that just makes all the sense in the world.
It seems that way, and of course, anytime that you try to do something down here, you got to look at who's on the other side of it. And apparently, it's the industry that is resistant. And again, other than the cost, there might be some small cost of stamping a date on the sunscreen. You would think that they would want people to dispose of it and buy new. I don't understand what the problem is, and maybe eventually we will get the bill passed.
Oh, I would say this is definitely one of those cases.
Oh, we do pass the bill. We do pass the bill in the Assembly. Apparently, they can't get it passed in the Senate then, because we always pass it here. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the government would have to sign it. But I think it's a good idea, and I think it's in the best interest of the public.
Right. And we're not going to have any time left. We're out of time to talk about the other things that are on the to-do list for this 2011 session. Mm-hmm. So maybe in our next program.
Well, we have a few things to talk about. Ethics,
we do have a few things. Ethics reform,
legislation.
That ethics reform, that whole idea of looking behind the issue to see why some things happen or don't happen here at the state capitol, like sunscreen expiration dates.
There could be somebody behind the curtain.
Yeah, always watch out for the man behind the curtain. We are out of time. We thank Dan Burling for joining us, just like we always do. We thank you folks, too, because without you, this means nothing. So thanks for joining us, and we'll hope to see you soon for our next edition of Assembly Calendar.